lives in the United States. Only motor vehicle accidents and falls, fire, and accidental deaths. But fire has its living too. Those who grieve the loss of loved ones killed by fire, those who manage to get out alive, those who are left homeless or jobless, and the thousands of victims who are maimed and disfigured by burn injuries. About half of these victims are children. Their scars, psychological as well as physical, often last a lifetime. Few illnesses or injuries that require long hospitalization are as traumatic as severe burns. The frightening circumstances of the injury, the long isolation from family, the feeling of helplessness, the continuous pain, all contribute to a deep despondency that impairs recovery. The average hospital stay for a burn victim is over 3 times that of medical and surgical patients. Treatment can add up to $60,000 or more. Reducing fire accidents, therefore, should bring about a reduction in national health costs. About 2/3 of the 12,000 Americans who die annually from fire die in building fires. Over 6,000 Americans die each year in houses, apartments, and hotels. The structures in which Americans live must be the prime focus of the national effort to reduce fire deaths. Our new large buildings often are monuments to our technological genius and museums of contemporary architecture. The same genius can turn on us with a vengeance at the mere touch of a flame. We have increased our use of synthetics, many of which emit toxic gases while burning. We have elevated the occupants above the reach of conventional fire department rescue equipment. We have bowed to the pressures of those who place aesthetic value above property value or human life. Efforts of individuals and organizations in the fire protection field have run against the twin tides of ignorance and indifference, tides which contribute substantially to the magnitude of the fire problem in the United States. Lack of understanding of fire's true threat helps to account for the low priority given fire protection. Those who have survived fire never forget. But for most Americans, fire appears a remote danger that justifies indifference. Wildland fires are a constant threat in many parts of our nation. These fires devastate our natural resources, spread into residential communities, and pave the way for future flooding. America today lives in the midst of a tinderbox. Highly flammable materials move on our highways, our railways, above us, around us. Many of the chemicals are so new, local firefighters have never heard of their dangers. Yet it is these firemen that we depend upon to save our cities from absolute devastation when fire strikes. The young, the elderly, the infirm. These are the biggest targets of fire. But fire knows no bounds. It hits the poor and the rich alike. It strikes day or night. It claims as its victims buildings large and small, public and private. As the National Commission on Fire Prevention and Control has concluded, America is burning. Among those paying heavily for America burning are the nation's firefighters. Theirs is the most hazardous profession of all. Fire is a killer.
When you were a kid, you wanted to ride a fire engine. Now you're going to get the chance. Some 30 years ago, I arrived at my first assignment just like you, green, eager, and with just enough confidence to convince me I could handle anything that was thrown my way. Well, son, I had a lot to learn. So do you. You're about to take on the most powerful and dangerous adversary known to mankind. There's nothing delicate about the equipment you'll use or the methods you'll employ. You are just one in legions of courageous men who have fought fire from our earliest civilized existence and who will continue to do so. Nobody calls time in this contest. You keep going until there's a winner and a loser, but you won't have to go it alone. When you climb into that coat and helmet, you become a member of the Universal Brotherhood of Firefighters. No matter where that kind or color of gear is worn, or what people it represents, more men are injured and killed wearing it than any other working uniform. But then they keep a lot of people from being killed, too. A firefighter is a dedicated professional with no real limit to the kinds of emergency he faces. From the simplest tasks of extinguishment to the near impossible ones where the only people present are the firefighters themselves and the casualties who used to be people. A firefighter does his job under conditions unique to the emergency services, where the emergency he faces is not one that's already happened, but rather one that is happening now, and which keeps growing in intensity until he stops it. As a professional firefighter, you'll do your work in commercial buildings and ghetto dwellings, on the waterfront, and in the hills, from high aerial platforms and bottoms of smoke-crammed basements. You'll work at ground level in garages and on ledges of high buildings. You'll fight fires that seem to be one big rolling explosion, and you won't know what else will explode, or when, or where. And chances are there won't be anyone around to tell you. Heat will seem unbearable, but you'll know that firefighters everywhere are facing these situations daily throughout the country. And you'll stay in there until you beat it down to your size and control it. You'll go out in weather so cold, every drop of water that leaves your hose line will turn to ice. You'll have to chop the ice from the beams of your ladders in order to raise or lower them, and thaw out connections with portable burners in order to connect your lines. You'll work in freezing cold that bites into everything you wear, touch, or even look at. And it will leave you with a crystallized mass of equipment more difficult to handle than the fire you fought with it. You'll work with people young and old, from infants to senior citizens. And most of the things they build their worlds around. You'll be called in on collisions, cave-ins, explosions, suicides, heart attacks, homicides, arson, poisonings, scaldings, electrocutions, and every other kind of human misery people get themselves involved in. You won't like many of the things you'll see. Nor many of the things you have to do. But just remember that you're the man, the help someone needs desperately and in a hurry, and that you're a member of the only outfit in the world trained and equipped for just that kind of action. You won't understand why some of the people you serve resort to violence to hinder your work. You may have to go in under armed guard in your attempt to save property and lives, or fight your fire under the protection of riot guns. You may at times be subjected to personal attack, because you stand for security, warmth, and dedication to some who resent you because they've never had those things. There are others who feel that if they can break your ring of protection, they can break the form of government that put you there. Don't try to analyze or antagonize. Your job is fighting fire, not people. And you'll find that there are a lot more of those people trying to help you than hinder you. Your number one adversary will be time. The first 5 minutes of a fire can be more important than the next 2 hours. The minutes and seconds it takes an unconscious child to die is matched against the minutes and seconds it takes you to get there. The time it takes to load a line and cool a storage tank is pitted against the time it takes the fire to blow it sky high. Your real working time will not be measured in minutes as much as in heartbeats. How many are left for the person inside that you have to locate and carry out to clear air? How many for the victim of collision, drowning, cave-in, heart attack, or poisoning? Some claim when a person's time comes, it comes. A firefighter tries to beat that time. So you move fast. Because some people don't call you in time, because a false alarm may have delayed you, because someone didn't know how to call you, you can lose the race. You can lose it another way, by not getting there. Heavy fire apparatus is driven by professional drivers who seldom exceed speed limits posted on city streets. But even at 35 miles per hour, they can't stop 40 tons of emergency vehicle short of a motorist who doesn't heed the siren. Firefighters hanging onto the outside of fire apparatus don't have much of a chance in a collision. Neither do those people they were on their way to help. The tools you will use at a fire are specialized and dangerous. A high-pressure monitor stream can bore straight into the heart of a big fire without vaporizing, and it can maim or kill any living thing it hits. Some of those nozzles can throw 4 tons of water a minute into the fight and can overload the upper floor of a building and bring it down on your back. A 50-foot section of fire hose loaded with water weighs 150 pounds. At normal operating pressure, it has a recoil like an elephant gun. Lose control for just 1 moment, and the pressure can whip that 15-pound tip around like a sledgehammer. One man you will depend upon is your immediate superior. He has waded through enough technical books to get a college degree, but in here, he operates on experience. He's been down on his belly coughing smoke and broken glass and hot embers too many times to drive you into something you can't take. He has experienced steam and boiling water coming through the fire from another crew's hose line. Hot tar and molten metal raining down from above. A running fire's treacherous behavior. The threat of electrocution from charged wires. Burned out flooring and hot cutting edges hidden in the debris. Overhead is always the officer's great concern. The whole crew can get it from collapsing timbers or heavy machinery, so he listens for that particular snap or rumble. It may be the only warning he'll get, or you'll get. Outside, the man in charge is concerned about other crews like yours, plus other people and other things, many other things. He's responsible for mobile equipment that is more specialized and complex than that of any other emergency profession. Responsible for lives and property, not only in the fire, but ahead of the fire. He's a lot more concerned about where the fire is going than where it's at. Fire moves quickly and in undetermined directions. In order to stop it, he must make decisions against time, under stress, and during maximum distraction. There's no time to second guess. His plan of attack must cover all sides and be flexible enough to change direction as fast or faster than the fire. To move with the fire. Get ahead of the fire. Flank it. Confine it. Kill it. How he works his plan depends a great deal on how he has pre-planned the situation. You'll find that much of a firefighter's work is done before he ever responds to the emergency. Fires are fought on building plans and blueprints, on architectural renderings and building codes. They're fought during inspections with engineers, supervisors, managers, or owners. Fought in classroom discussions, drill yard evolutions, and on-the-spot simulated fire problems. They're fought in university classrooms, and in the thousands of texts, manuals, reports, and handbooks of fire protection. But you don't have to have a degree in fire administration to know that when that alarm sounds, a firefighter has a lot more to think about than how to connect a hose to a hydrant. He must know the characteristics of the area he's heading into, the buildings, occupants, processes, and activities, flash points, burning characteristics and reaction of materials, size, location and intensity of the fire, color, density, and behavior of smoke, exposures, wind conditions, humidity, traffic, topography, and water supply, people, inside, outside, and in the way, radiation, convection, and direction of the fire, hose lines, ladders, and equipment needed, police assistance, rescue, ambulance, gas, and power units, possibility of arson, explosion, structure collapse, cave-in, of failure of water supply, apparatus, manpower, or fire protection installations, blocked accesses, blocked exits, hazards to firefighters. All these and others race through an experienced firefighter's mind with the speed of a computer in the minutes and seconds preceding attack. As the area, height, size, and occupancy of a building grow, so does the fire problem. People will say, why worry? We've had tall buildings around for years. Well, these buildings are different than the structures I knew, son. Beautiful, but different. These are made of glass and steel. The buildings won't burn, but inside are the combustibles, furnishings, paneling, and people, all wrapped up in one package. When fire gets inside, it's like a cooking oven. When it gets big enough to break out those glass walls, it begins climbing floor by floor, so high you can't reach it with the biggest equipment you've got. And you won't reach all the people either. You'll see some of them swarming down elevators that still operate. And what stairways they can find, while you're trying to get to the fire floor with 60 pounds of gear on your back. Those are the lucky ones. The rest will be up there above your reach, cut off, ready to panic. After the carnage, the public will demand an answer. Why were they trapped? Why didn't you get them out? Why? You'll soon learn that the public doesn't understand the things you do outside where people can see you, and can never appreciate what you do inside where they can't see you. But you can't get inside to hit the heart of a fire when smoke and heat are jammed right down to the floorboards. Somebody with cutting tools has to go topside and let it out so you can get in under it with hose lines. We call it venting a burning structure, and it puts a man right over the highest, hottest, weakest part of the roof. But at least up there you can breathe once in a while. Not so inside, in a place that can't be ventilated, like the smoke-crammed hole of a commercial basement. Let me tell you what it's like down there. I can give it to you firsthand. We'd taken a call one afternoon to a burning commercial building at 3rd and Central. The building was heavily involved with smoke at the time we rolled up. Our job was to get to the part of the fire that was in the basement. We went in two together, the buddy system. When you go down into a fire like this, it gets hotter and nastier each step of the way. You don't know what's ahead, only that somewhere in that concentration of toxic gases, there's a smoldering fire starving for oxygen. If someone opens the wrong door and provides fresh air, the whole basement can become a sea of flame. You remember those firemen that were cremated when it happened a few years back, and the memory doesn't help. Deep inside the smoke, it's a dead, weird world of its own. Quiet except for the breathing action of your apparatus and the slosh of feet through hot water flowing down from hose lines on floors above you, where others are working deep inside the building. The only people in the whole world who know what kind of hell it is inside a burning structure are the only ones to go in there, firefighters. It's their personal workshop, the place they really earn their pay. Our job was in the lowest part of that hell, a big basement with heat and smoke so thick you couldn't tell where anything started or stopped. It was a long search. Eventually, we located and hit a couple of hot spots, but still hadn't found the main blaze when my partner's warning bell sounded. He was low on air. He didn't want to desert me down there, but I signaled him out. I wanted to finish up. I wet down a bit more before my own bell sounded. I had 5 minutes to make it to good air. If I were scuba diving, I'd have one way to go, up. Down here in this cesspool of poison, the objective is the same, but the route is different. You can go a dozen ways, all of them wrong, but one. You can be certain you're going in the right direction until you hit a wall that shouldn't be there. What happens after that can be simple, deadly confusion. I knew that men had died within inches of a life-giving window or door, which they couldn't find in the smoke. I was determined to stay calm, but as your last few seconds of air leave you, so does your reason. When they found me, I'd circled completely around the staircase and was face down in the water with my mask hanging loose. No one knows if I panicked and pulled it off or if it caught on something as I went down. I don't recall. Carbon monoxide replaces oxygen in the bloodstream at the rate of 200 to 1. A 1.3 concentration can be fatal in 2 minutes. I got more than my share. You were 2 years old then. Your sister was a baby. Both of you did a lot of growing up without me, thanks to a wonderful mother who worked hard to fill the gap. I'm grateful you didn't blame the department for what happened that afternoon. If you did, you wouldn't be wearing the uniform now. The badge they gave you was my badge, and I'm proud that you're the one who's wearing it. You've got a whole lifetime of helping people laid out ahead of you. Wring every minute of satisfaction you can out of it. I know you'll finish the job your old dad started out to do.